There's so many articles that came out last year that basically just says that people are struggling to focus at home and that the attention span is shortening. So don't worry, you're definitely not alone with this one. Hey guys, Patrick here. Hope you're doing great. I'm a PhD student at Oxford and I started my PhD during the pandemic. And for some strange reason, I managed to actually work more productively during the pandemic working from home than before. So here are some of my tools and tips and tricks that I use to just work more efficiently. Let's go. As a PhD student, at least in the UK, you don't have classes. So what you do with the time is completely up to you. So to avoid being a lost puppy, I need some sort of time scheduling for myself. And for this, I use Google Calendar. It's absolutely not detailed, but it's there for the purpose of blocking out parts of the day for certain activities. So let's go through this one. I wake up around 5 a.m. and for the first couple of hours in the day, I work on an online course called the Mathematics for Machine Learning, in case you're curious. Excellent course, really good to get into the theory and the maths of the machine learning. But that's what I do for usually 3 days. And then from 9 a.m. to roughly 6 p.m., it's just dedicated for my PhD work. So it says that in the evening I should be doing a lot of reading. What usually happens is that I'm just so exhausted from the entire day that I end up rolling onto my bed and watching loads of YouTube videos. Son, why you no study? Mom, can you pass me the chili, please? You want the chili, but you don't want to study. What the hell? Mom. Okay, time for bed. Why you no study? I've kept my time scheduling for many years now, and I did this even when I was working in finance and before that at uni, when you actually have a timetable for your classes. You don't have to plan out each hour of the day, and nor do you have to actually strictly stick to that schedule. But what I realized is that when I have a rough, broad schedule like this, it helps me stay organized, and in the long run, I actually manage to get stuff done. If you don't schedule your time like this, then maybe give this a shot. You could end up loving it. So Notion is the holy grail of productivity. I mean, it's so popular that when I uploaded my full walkthrough of my Notion setup, I even got tagged by Instagram and Twitter posts, and those channels are dedicated to tag people who just uploaded videos on Notion. And I'm not even that famous with my 500 or so followers. I'm gonna be honest, I got on this Notion bandwagon very late. I'm very old school. I prefer pen and paper, but you know, the pandemic got the better of me and well, I got basically baptized into this space. So this is by no means a full walkthrough of my Notion setup. I made a video on this one already in the past. Here I'm just going to talk about how I use Notion to work a bit more efficiently and more productively. So I have several pages on my Notion. The to-do list, which I confidently call the Work Smarter sheet. Daily journal, my PhD hub here for all my projects, content planning for YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Let's start with my to-do list. The first thing I do when I wake up is sit on the toilet and write down my to-do list. Once I write down all of my to-do lists, it will automatically categorize when it is due. So it will be due, it could be due today, it could be a recurring task, could be due this week, and could be due soon. And when I click this done box here, it will automatically appear here, and then I clean this every now and then. All of my to-do lists, I would write down what it is, then the context, so if I require a phone or computer, if it's high energy or low energy. Now this is important when I, for instance, commute. So let's say I commute for 30 minutes and I have the phone tag on, I know exactly I can do these things as I commute. Project, well, it could be, you know, PhD related, could be the online course that I'm working on, content creation, etc. And if it's PhD specifically, then I also have to tag which project it is. And these are my recurring tasks. This is actually what I check pretty much the first thing when I get up. And because there are some small things like, waking up at 5 a.m. Once I've done this, I will click on the next day. And there are other tasks that are due today, which is signaled by these 2 red exclamation marks. So this is my PhD hub. Here I have all of my to-do lists for each project. I have all of my projects and I have a general timeline of all the projects. Here, my 2 projects. Here's the general timeline, 26th, and the other things that I have going on here. Then, other literature notes, so papers that I want to read, concepts that I'm reading about, I would write it in here. And then my short and long-term to-do lists, which automatically get categorized into the projects based on what tag it has. Now, if we just briefly go into one project here, for instance, I could, see exactly what to-do lists are here, then papers that I need to read and some literature notes, stuff that I've been reading recently with detailed notes inside, I believe, I hope at least. Yeah, exactly. So some notes here that will be useful when I write up the chapter. And this is basically a quick summary of my PhD hub. This is well maintained. I look at this pretty much every single day, and it allows me to stay on track. Next, content planning. I want to have this as streamlined as possible, know exactly what I want to post at what time, so that it doesn't stress me out with, when I'm working on my PhD, I don't have to think like, oh, what I have to post now, etc. So I try to work as far in advance as possible. So the video for this one is called How to Work More Efficiently. This is in the filming stage, and this will be published tomorrow. And for each one, I would write down exactly, what needs to be discussed here, and the general script, and etc. The same goes for TikTok. Here are all the ideas that I have from either the audience or for myself, and what I want to film next. So Notion is really important to me because it allows me to stay well organized, focused, productive, and I'm able to work very efficiently because of this one, because I have the entire PhD stuff on there. I have all my content creation process there, my to-do list, and all the other things as well. So, the way I see Notion, very simple. Earth, air, fire, water, and Notion. It's the fifth element of life. Procrastination is normal.
What do you mean, son?
Procrastinating is actually healthy,
What the hell you say, son? Go back to study.
Yes, it is healthy, but you don't want to turn this into a full-time hobby where you end up procrastinating for a quarter of a day and don't really get stuff done. So I use a website called Block Sites. This is completely free, at least most of the features, well, some of the features. And the way this works is the following. So you basically tell it to block the websites that you specify. I have 5 social media websites, and it will prevent you to go on these websites at either at all times or specific times of the day if you specify a schedule. So if I go, for instance, on Instagram, because it's on this list here, I can't get to the Instagram website, and nice little puppy here. And so I chose for the scheduling, so that's from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. This means that for these hours every single day, I cannot use these 5 social media apps unless I remove them from this list. I've recently tried getting into meditation a little bit more seriously than before, and my goal is currently to meditate for at least 10 minutes every single day, and I prefer doing this one in the afternoon when, I've deep fried my brain working on some PhD projects. It's so nice to just sit down, close your eyes, and listen through a guided meditation session. You literally feel reborn afterwards. You practically turn into a fetus. And after this, you go back to your desk and work on whatever you're working on. It just feels so much nicer than taking a break by watching videos, or just scrolling through Instagram. Confession time number 2, I don't do this all the time, but some of the times I just end up watching YouTube videos or consume some sort of other content from online. And this is, ironic, I guess, but at least I'm trying to get into the habit of doing some sort of mindfulness exercise and sharing this one with you for some inspiration. I'm sure you heard of this technique already. It is the Notion equivalent of time management for studying. Instead of working all day long with periods of procrastination throughout the day, what you do with the Pomodoro Technique is you work in cycles. Now, this was developed roughly in the 1980s, and it works the following. So you work for 25 minutes, so studying, for example, followed by a 5-minute break. This is called one cycle. You repeat the cycle 4 times. After the 4th time, you take a longer break, let's say 30 minutes, and then you repeat this entire process again. The reason why this is so popular is because there are quite a few studies out there that show that if you take breaks in between your focus sessions, you tend to retain more information, which means that you can recall more stuff that you learn, you understand better, and hopefully in the long run, you just end up being a better student. For instance, here's a study from 2011. They got over 100 citations that basically says that if you take a brief diversion from a task, you can dramatically improve your ability to focus on that task for longer periods. So this is not a study that specifically talks about the Pomodoro Technique, but at least it's in the umbrella of taking short breaks in between your focus sessions, and that's meant to be helpful for you. There are quite a few variations of the study, so you can have longer periods of study sessions. So it could be, 40, 50, 60, 90 minutes even of study, followed by a 10-15 minute break. And then this is one cycle. You repeat the cycle many times. For this technique to work for you, I think you just need to try out different cycles for different tasks and see what works for you. For me, I've tried various different combinations of the Pomodoro technique for different tasks. And what I realized is that the original 25-minute study and 5-minute break split absolutely does not work for me. It is horrible. So for instance, if I read a research paper, it takes me roughly 20 to 25, maybe even 30 minutes to even get into the zone and start to finally understand what's being talked about, because these papers are quite technical. And with the original Pomodoro technique, I would then take a break after this, 5 minutes, and then come back to the task. And then it just takes me a while to get back into the flow. It's horrible. But if I read for 60 minutes at least, up to 90 minutes, and then followed by a 10 to 15 minute break, that just works marvelously for me, at least in the context of reading research papers. And judging from the forums on Reddit and Quora, I don't seem to be the only one struggling from the 25-minute study and 5-minute break split. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you learned something new today, please consider tapping that like button and the subscribe button. I love you guys. See you in the next one.